Ever since her rework in seasons past, Akali has always been a hugely popular and gravitating pick, devastating the depths of both solo queue and competitive play. With an incredibly flexible, well-rounded kit and the ability to succeed in any team comp and basically any environment, it's no wonder why she's such a coveted pick whenever she has a semblance of being in the meta. I'll be going over why she's such an important champion for many players in solo queue, her strengths and weaknesses in competitive play, and a few tidbits that you should be aware of with her so that you can maximize her kit both in and out of game. If you enjoy this video, make sure to get subscribed for more content. Akali tips the scales as one of the champions in the game that Riot has to be very careful with. More often than not, it's a very thin line between her being average to being one of the most broken and oppressive champions in the game.
Execute. Akali is following! Look at Wonder come in! Oh my god!
This is thanks to a couple of things relating to her champion identity and how we can actually use these factors to aid our own understanding and to visualize our goals when playing her. The first one probably goes more under the radar than most people recognize, and it's her ability to be so flexible in terms of draft. While her strength in this regard definitely shines the most in professional play, it's not a far stretch to see the benefits of playing Akali in normal play as well. Her kit naturally allows her to neutralize and make the most out of essentially every matchup in the game. Tools like her Shroud and the amount of raw dashes in her kit make her just really hard to punish in the early phases of the game, and her insane side laning potential and ability to take down priority targets in later stages of the game make for a really annoying combo overall. In today's meta, side lane capability with teamfighting capability and blind pick capabilities are all incredible assets that will always be well appreciated, and Akali is able to step that up to the plate. This makes her a fan favorite in the draft because she can be an extremely effective champion in every matchup pretty much. Teams love to pick her early in the draft phase and keep the enemy guessing where she ends up being played, because this places a lot of pressure on the opposing team to hedge against this champion. But the reality is that there really isn't much you can do to Akali on that front, and she's much more so bottlenecked by the champion's own capability. Whether she's blinded or counterpick, strong side or weak side, mid or top, she's an extremely fluid champion and is great anywhere in any comp. In solo queue, this means that Akali is generally a great champion to one trick or at least have as part of your champion pool, because this means your time will be invested on a champion with high agency, high usefulness pretty much every game that you play. You can play different rune sets depending on who you're facing, and play her trades differently based on your own needs. You can play for your team in fights by setting up side lane pressure and creating advantages with TP, or you can totally play for yourself as your champion has the capability to carry the team by yourself. It's totally your call what you decide to do from game to game, and the fact that Akali has the ability to do that is what makes her so awesome in solo queue. Of course, with all of these strengths comes with the caveat that Riot is extremely careful with Akali in general. As a champion that can pretty much do it all, it can make for some really unhealthy and unenjoyable gameplay when abused, and she's balanced around the fact that the Akali player really has to maximize the champion's capability. When played to its maximum, Akali has an incredible amount of upside that allows her to succeed in almost any situation. We've all seen our fair share of the Korean montages or pro play compilations with this champion, and this champion only looks good when you're fully able to master it. So while it may be obvious in hindsight, it cannot be emphasized enough that the champion is only as good as you are mechanically capable are at it. While this won't be an insanely in-depth combo video on her, since it won't be hard to find one of those nearby, I recommend studying them and practicing them a ton. This champion moves so quickly, you have to feel like your combos are just an extension of your mind in the game, or else you'll easily fall flat on your face. So playing the high amount of games that the champion requires, as well as just simply respecting the process for it, will translate to success in the game. Your knowledge will also be tested in understanding how your playstyle will adapt based on the game you're in. From game to game, you'll constantly be evaluating your ability to change your goals, understand your win conditions, which in turn affects what you'll be looking for. Maybe the enemy team comp is actually focused on diving your backline, which means that you yourself don't have to necessarily play for dive. Maybe it's impossible for your team comp to really win out on longer term fights, so you have to focus on yourself and bring pressure for your team in side lane. This can also be impacted by your ability to help your jungler in the early game for skirmishes, or if you need to navigate them to the other side of the map because you can't get prio in early stages. These are among the many things that you should be thinking about on Akali, because she's one of the few champs in the game that can be effective in all of these scenarios. Many other champions have innate weaknesses, and usually a lot of the mistakes come from playing these champions in the wrong scenarios, where maybe actually another champ simply would have been better. Akali spices things up a bit here because she's going to be effective in almost every scenario, as long as you recognize what you need to adapt and swiftly enough that you don't miss an opportunity. This is why she's so strong, and due to a combination of all of these factors, this is why I would totally recommend adding Akali to your champion pool. Thanks for listening to another installment of Why You Should Learn. As always, hope you guys found this insightful, and I will catch you in the next video. Stay fresh.